It is all over the place. And we all need to remember that we need to slow down.
Why do you think that having a conversation about Steven not showing up on time daily is going to cause him to quit?
I was just going to say that a lot of times the toxic or the bad work environment comes from the employee that is toxic, that is causing the problems, that is underperforming.
Teams do better when they know each other and can just sit down and not talk about work all the time.
All right. This was the one that I wanted to get to, so I probably should have done it first, not that, but that's okay. So we're going to talk about how do we combat burnout in a hard market, year 2, right? Year 1, I think we're all getting our feet together and everything else, but I just see so many signs out there between carriers and agencies and leaders that I think are just going to really reconcile and be very toxic this year if we're not intentional. So first up, how are we recognizing heart burnout right now? Where are you guys seeing burnout show up?
I think on the service side, that the team is getting it's the same conversation over and over and over and over. And they become desensitized to the fact that rates have changed or the market's gotten more difficult or more adventurous or that the market's right-siding itself. But they're getting frustrated that the client doesn't already understand that because they've already had that conversation 12 times today and 100 times this week and 1,000 times in the last 6 months. So the service side is really, I'm seeing a lot of burnout from even some of the best agents out there just because they're like, I can solve this problem. And they don't allow the client to have the word vomit, as I like to call it, to get out their problem and get out their frustration and let the client just spill it all and then start providing solutions. They're like, I can fix this. I can fix this. I can fix this. This is the 3rd time today, 4th time this week. I have a solution. They try to cut people off. And so then the client's getting even more reactive and defensive. So I think it's causing a 2-way burnout of they know what the solution is, but they're so desensitized to it. And they're not having the empathy with the customer to let the customer say it and then let it roll off their back as well.
Yeah, I think burnout is everywhere. I think our agency principals are burnout because they're tired of hearing our staff say they're burnout. I think our staff is tired of hearing our carriers say that they're burnout. I think it is all over the place. And we all need to remember that we need to slow down. Let's slow down and remember we're all people and we're all humans. And right? Thank you, Steven. No trouble.
I'm a llama.
Right. Ooh, we all need to do some meditation and deep breathing exercises, I think, at some point here.
Yeah, less wine, more meditation, maybe.
I think also sometimes the agents in the offices feel like their higher uppers, their leadership and their management don't know what they're going through because there may be 10 offices and the CEOs are in one office. They're not even in an office where they see clients, so they feel disconnected. I think sometimes the staff is telling leadership and management that they're struggling, and the leadership and management are just like, I'll just push through it. You'll get through it. Just keep going. Just keep going. I think it's hard to find good employees. And sometimes when the management and leadership allows people not to be good employees, to leave early and come late, and their good employees see that, I think that's really hard for them. So I think there needs to be, certain parameters when it comes to, your staff. You can't treat some different than you treat others. You can't let some leave early and come late when you've got the ones that are hustling. It's just like treating our customers differently. We've got the ones that are constantly coming in and paying or constantly calling in and paying, and we're giving them all the attention. Well, I think sometimes we do that with staff. Sometimes we, the good staff that are hard workers, that are pushing, that, sometimes do overtime. And then you have those lower tier staff that just they come in late, they leave early, they're sick all the time, or they're calling out all the time. So I think there's a disconnect between leadership and the staff as well. And we need to reconnect that. And we need to say, okay, what are you seeing? What are you seeing that's burning you out? And how can we find a solution for that? Instead of just pretending and putting on blinders like they're not even seeing it. They've got to open their eyes. Like Bobby said, they need to slow down. they need to have discussions about it and not pretend like it's not happening.
Teresa, you sure you weren't
I also
at the
think-
agency assessments I've done lately? Because I feel like the team is having to spill the tea on who the bad employee is, but the bad employee never knows that the bad employee.
I also think too, we have to remember that some of the staff members were crying that they were burned out before the market too. And it's like, it's a little bit of that like not ongoing. And then sometimes you talk to some of them, not saying all of them, but like when you talk to some of them, they don't want to change. Like they don't want to adhere to the agency standards. They don't want to adhere to things. And so they create their own pickle, or like, I can't tell you like, oh, well, they don't want to use a rater. And I've had this conversation. I'm like, we're in 2023, and now it's actually harder because more carriers have pulled out to get people to use a rater. So it's like a little bit of a moot point. But I'm like, or they don't want to use a headset, or they don't want to do this, they don't want to do that. And I'm like, well, then you don't get the right to complain about how burned out you are. Like
We're not.
you have to take some of the tools. Yeah, it's 2024. Yeah. Well, you have to like the person has to take steps forward too of helping and taking the help as given as well. Like I have agencies that just, I don't take the time block because I just can't. I was like, so you're telling me you're overwhelmed, but the time block is there to help with that. I can't, you don't understand. My customers, they only want to talk to me. And it's like, okay, well, I clearly know I'm talking to the narcissist victim of the agency, and I can't, there's nothing I'm going to do that's going to ever solve your problem. So I think sometimes owners get burned out from that, where it's just like, here's 10 solutions. I don't want any of them. I don't know what I'm going to do either, right? I think the other way I see burnout showing up, though, is that people are doing the minimum requirement of their job, right? So, well, I did that. I emailed it to them. Oh, I emailed that person. Like, it's like literally like the least amount that they can do is what's happening. They're not maybe raising their hand when they're backlogged. They're like, well, I did as hard as I could today. So the fact that I'm 936 activities overdue, I'll just start tomorrow with the first one and see what happens. There's some people in insurance, I think, that are very much just sort of floating out there. And because many agencies are short staffed, most agency owners do not feel in any way, shape, or form that they can drive the accountability Teresa's talking about. Because I think in many agency owners' minds, they feel like if I address Steven doing something wrong, Steven's 100% going to quit. Like we go into like an instantaneous like breakup mode. Like they're going to leave if I talk to them about. And I'm like, why do you think that? Like, why do you think that having a conversation about Steven not showing up on time daily is going to cause him to quit? Do you think he's going to go to another employer and be like, hey, I need to show up at least 5 to 10 minutes late every day. That's part of my requirements. Like, if it will be uncomfortable, I think that's what people are saying is uncomfortable. But in all reality, if someone's going to leave because they can't show up on time and you address it, then they are not your people. Like, and I think that the hard part that agency owners are feeling, give me 1 second, Steven, is not so much like I want to like, maybe Steven's not a great fit and I know that, but I don't want when Steven leaves to put the burden on Teresa and Bobby and then I'm scared they're going to leave. Even though I know I have someone on the team that's not a player, the reality is I'm now going to stress out people who are also stressed, but I don't want to put that on. So as an owner, sometimes it's easier putting up with the C- player than also facing the repercussions of that. And it's very difficult to be transparent and say, I want to get rid of Steven, Therese, but if I do that, you're going to have to take on half of his work until I can find someone new. Are you cool with that? And that's not even cool for an owner to talk about Steven's performance with another employee. You know what I mean? Like it's sometimes it's super complicated. But go ahead, Steven.
I was just going to say that a lot of times the toxic or the bad work environment comes from the employee that is toxic, that is causing the problems, that is underperforming. And the whole team is like, why do they get away with it? Like, I still come in, I do my job. I feel, one of my favorite words, I feel like I work harder than everybody else, but this person gets away with everything. Why should I keep trying? And I think sometimes when we get rid of the person that's holding us captive or that we're afraid to let go, there's a huge attitude change in the office. Everybody's like, shut up. We're all going to pitch in. We got this. Like, let me do it, because they're now seeing, again, everybody's being treated fairly once again. And I think it goes really down to the facts, not the feelings of the whole situation, right? Like, what are the facts? How many calls is each person
Well, it's
making?
also
How many things are we handling?
It's also having a culture of like one-on-ones and accountability to open up that dialogue. Like if I only talk to Steven when he's in trouble, it's like this big dramatic, like, oh my God, I'm getting called to the principal's office. If I'm Steven's manager, I'm going to be meeting him every 2 weeks and be like, hey, Steven, I've noticed a couple of things. We just need to talk about them right here. It's not as weird, right? And a lot of agencies just have never adopted that principle. So I think when we talk about like what do we do about burnout, right? To me, this is where strong leadership comes into play. I think the leaders themselves can't go talking trash about the companies or say, I can't believe this, I can't believe this. I think that they have to just you can go to your friends that are industry agency owners and go have cocktails and go verbal diet on it, but you can't come down here. I also think that now is the time to really say, this is what we say yes to, this is what we say no to, and give people that clarity. And don't expect that it's going to take like day one off like wildfire, but then that gives you the grip to say, hold on, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling burned out. You just spent 2 hours on a customer that I told you we could let go of.
Right.
But that's a very foreign concept.
Yeah, I think communication and having a feedback loop is going to be important, right? I think at times where we felt overwhelmed, we need that lifeline. And so we need to create a safe space, not only for our teams, but each other within the agency, for our teams to understand, like, hey, you can tell me what's going on so we can help provide solutions. But if we don't know what's going on and if we become defensive as leaders when we hear that information, that's where it just perpetuates that burnout mode, right? So we have to be open and transparent and encourage communication, both, from leadership to staff and from staff to leadership.
Well, I want to give a tip, I think, to both parties right now, which I think is huge, which is part of the conversation is like, I need to vent or I need help solving a problem because you listen differently. At least I do. If I know somebody needs to vent, my brain doing what I do for so long. It's like solve problem. I solve problems. That's what I do. I solve problems all day long. So somebody comes to me venting, my head's like, okay, we can do blah, 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 blah. And at the end, I'm like, okay, great. I have this figured out. And the person's like, you didn't listen to me. I just needed to vent. I'm like, no. You have to tell me that up front. Otherwise,
I'm solving
a messy place
for you.
up here. I was like, I had it all written down. We were going to do this. Tomorrow we're going to do this. So I think sometimes having that open space, but both parties saying, okay, are you venting or do you want problem solving right now? And I think just having that communication solves about 80% of the burnout challenges too of, no, I just needed a vent. I'm cool. I'm going back out to go be awesome.
But allow your team to have fun too. You want the team to be able to have fun together too. So take some days occasionally or an afternoon or buy them lunch occasionally to try to get them to communicate and work together. Teams do better when they know each other and can just sit down and not talk about work all the time.
Truth. So just watch for burnout. I think it's going to be one of those things that's probably a moving target, what's working, what's not working. But I think it's just a matter of, we know we're going to be in this for a while and just keep looking for the best team members because as those other agencies are not leading the team, some really good people, I think, are going to come out in the market that's going to empower the agency to listen to this podcast and you to really develop an A-level team. That solves a ton of burnout right there. So my last tip for everybody before I let you guys go is always be recruiting. Even if you don't have an open spot, you have an open spot because you never know. We had somebody call up and say that one of their team members is leaving to go to work at the post office. And I was like, interesting. They're just done with insurance. So I was like, okay, go find you the best person now, So keep that in the back of your mind. Thank you guys, everybody. Check out our hard market training. We appreciate y'all. And we'll be back with our next podcast next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.